We're looking today at our chapters 26 through 28 of the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 26 begins on a high note. Look at verses 5 through 8 very quickly. We find that the people of Israel were wanderers. They really weren't a nation. They were under the harsh treatment of the people of Egypt. And yet the Lord, verse 8 and 9, brought them out at what we call the Exodus, and led them to a land flowing with milk and honey. So often in the book of Deuteronomy, this phrase comes up, the land flowing with milk and honey. Obviously, that is just a metaphor of the abundance of the land. The land was filled with abundance, a land unlike anything they'd ever seen before, a land that could be theirs. And so it opens in that high note and so forth. Then we come to chapters 27 and 28, and very interesting section of scripture here. The Lord wants to bless them. He wants to bring them to this land that flows with milk and honey and wants them to prosper. But that prosperity is going to be dependent upon their obedience. And chapters 27 and 28 give them an object lesson like no other object lesson concerning the curses that come from disobedience and the blessings that come from obedience. And this has been said over and over throughout all these books, especially Deuteronomy. There's been all these mentions of cursings and blessings. But now we're going to be given this amazing object lesson. He tells the people here in verse 4 of chapter 27 that when they cross the Jordan, after they go into the land, after they already had a couple victories, they're going to go on Mount Ebal. And they are going to set up some stones, and they're going to write, verse 4 here, chapter 27, they're going to write on those stones the words of the law. That's verses 8 and 9. Now, how much of Deuteronomy is on those stones? I don't know. Possibly just the Ten Commandments. But on the stones would be at least the Ten Commandments. And then they would have people standing on Mount Ebal, and the tribes that would be involved with that on that mountain would be, verse 13, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. And the Levites shall answer and say to all the men of Israel with a loud voice, cursed. And then he goes down through here, starting with verse 15, going on down through to the end of the chapter is just a list of a dozen or so curses on the people of Israel if they disobey God. And these are very clear, very direct violations of what God would say to them, of what God has told them. So they would be cursed if they disobeyed the law. They'd be cursed if they did this, that, or the other. So it's very clear what would happen if they disobeyed the law and the Lord. And there would be more curses mentioned over in chapter 28 and verses 15 on down to verse 20. And so these are very clear. And so the people on Mount Ebal were, in a sense, with the Levites, shouting out these curses. Now, on another mountain, on an opposite mountain, Mount Gerizim, we come down to chapter 28. On Mount Gerizim would be another set of the tribes. The remaining tribes would be there. And they would be pronouncing a blessing on the people of Israel if they obeyed obeyed the Lord. And so we see, like in verse 2 of chapter 28, all these blessings will come upon you. Verse 3, blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be in the country, and virtually a reversal of the curses that went before them. He comes back to verse 15 of chapter 28, and again returns back to the curses. And so this goes on and on. So what is unique about this is two things. This is the perfect object lesson. It's one thing to listen to a sermon about blessings and cursings or anything else. It's quite another to have a in-your-face object lesson where the whole nation is participating and shouting out blessings and cursings that the people of Israel are to listen to and understand and obey God for blessings, and if they disobey God, they'll be cursed. And one other thing we'd mention here, that when they get into the promised land in the book of Joshua, and we'll see this in a few weeks, the people did exactly this. We find them going on Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, and we have the blessings and the cursings shouted out after they're in the promised land to do exactly what the Lord has instructed them to do here. So they obey this, and it's a powerful reminder, a powerful object lesson to the people of Israel. And for a time, it seemed like they did follow. Unfortunately, not for very long. So that's where we are today with the book of Deuteronomy.